Morning, Andrew. I'm looking a bit washed out here. I think it's the lighting.
Oh, hi,
Um,
Simon. Yeah,
if I
at least you've had a wash.
well, actually, if if I had a trumpet, I would blow it now because I've said to you in the past, haven't I, that people are frightened to ask about basic things because they're worried that they might get ridiculed. And you sort of, I don't think you totally believe me, but we did basics for the last video we did, and that's proven very, very popular. So I think we
I,
should.
I, I, can, I can relate to that. I mean, I've been in jobs in the real world in my past lives where sort of 3 months in, I've realised I don't understand something completely basic about the job I'm getting paid to do. But by that point, you've gone too far. You passed your probationary period, and you think I better not ask what that means because I've been bluffing it for 3 months. So I'll carry on bluffing it for the next couple of years until getting another job.
Yeah, well, I think we can all relate to that. I can certainly. There's loads of things. I mean, I did years ago. I did mention about doing an absolute basics on horse racing right from the start. With all the rules about how everything works. And I
Yeah.
was advised not to do it because if you make one rick, then and I would have been learning too. I'd have been asking somebody who knows a hell of a lot more than me. And I was told that if you made one rick, you'd just get fall of the board for it. And the
Yeah.
BHA were actually on it, and they were going to do something like that, and it never happened. I think it would be really, really popular. Just the basics about horse racing, about the declarations and all the rules. And anyway, but we're looking at form, and you're the man to ask about form because if you're a stick of rock, you'd have form book running right the way through you. So
there's a
what are we going to look at
there's a
today that
people
people
would my wife would say other things going, but
are?
we'll
So what
leave that aside.
you sent me a load of stuff. I haven't printed it out today because I'm worried about the rainforest, but it will be on my website. And if you
Or
you
talk about rainforest. Every time I pick child two up from preschool, she's got about six new drawings she's done on A4 paper in a bag, which I then have to look at and sort of admire and say fantastic, and then when she's not looking, chuck them in the bin.
Andrew, you're gonna have to get a bigger fridge, mate. That's what that.
Well, I don't drink Diet Coke anymore, so I don't need a big fridge anymore.
Yeah. What happened there then? What do you have instead?
Oh, water. Have the occasional tiny full fat Coke for the caffeine boost. But yeah, I'm off the DCs, which some people will after being nicknamed the Diet Coke Kid at one stage in my earlier gambling career. Um,
Blimey.
some people will find that hard to believe, but yeah, I'm off the aspartame. I think I'm better for it.
Oh, good man. Well, you're looking well. So, what are we going to look at today?
Yeah,
Basics two. We're going to call this Basics two.
Yeah, I thought I'd look at a race that is sort of coming up in the next 24 hours. That's Newbury's 405 on Friday, 7 furlong listed race. And yeah, we've got Air, of course, the Air Gold Cup meeting this weekend, and I did want to look at one of the big sprints, but of course there's like 179 declarations. You don't know who's going to be in the Bronze Cup, the Silver Cup, or the Gold Cup until late on. So I thought I'd look at this one. Probably been a bit lazy as well because there's only seven runners. So first thing to discuss is where we're racing. This is Newbury. It's on the straight course, and there can be a strong sort of pace bias, often favouring front runners at Newbury. Although I looked at the sort of trends for this race over the past 10 years, there was no obvious sort of front runners won 7 out of 10 or anything like that. It was a mixed bag between front runners, hold up horses, and prominent races. And the going, of course, is key as it is at every race. It's currently good to soft in places with a going stick reading of 4.3, but we've got two sunny days coming up. Some sort of wind as well on Thursday, which could dry it out quickly. Trouble is with Newbury, you don't know what they're starting on. It could be heavy at the moment instead of good to soft in places, or it could be genuinely good to soft. So we are sort of guessing completely. Now, the going stick reading of 4.3. Last autumn, Newbury had officially heavy ground on a couple of occasions. On the 26th of October, heavy ground was 3.2 on the going stick. And on the 21st of September, heavy ground was 5.6. So we're sort of halfway between that 3.2 and 5.6. And we're on something completely different. So who knows? The good thing is this is race 5 on the card, and the preceding 4 races are also on the straight course. So we get a clue with the times and the actual going adjustment that we need to give. So that that is going to something that's going to be key here, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, Andrew, that's all right if you're somebody like you that's sat there watching the racing all afternoon. But what
Yeah.
about most people that sort of pick their horses out before they go to work or at
Oh yeah, I mean,
lunchtime? You know,
yes,
you can't really bet, can you?
no, it's very tricky, isn't it? Particularly if if you've got time in the evenings, a day or two before, and you're looking at what you think is going to be soft going, and it turns out it's good to firm in places on the day, or vice versa. Then yeah, it is it is tricky. You will get these biases that crop up due to the wind or rail movements, and if you were betting at Sandown yesterday and Wednesday, you're probably thinking, well, you're going to be on the front runners. I don't want to be on anything that comes from off the pace, and that kind of thing might be evident after a few races. But if you've backed a hold up horse when you're on your lunch break or before you've gone to work in the morning, it's tricky to keep track of.
So anyway, I interrupted. So carry on,
No,
please.
no, feel free. Yes, with the sort of the look at the sort of 10-year trends, particularly at meetings like York and Doncaster recently. And I did have a good look at this one, looking at the age of the participants, the sex, running style, prep races, and that sort of thing. The one interesting stat that cropped up looking at this one was in the last 10 years, 28 runners have been rested for more than 6 weeks, and all 28 lost. Now, that doesn't perhaps look a big sample over 10 years, an average of 2.8 runners a year, but the expected number of winners based on their prices was 2.66. So that suggests it's sort of, perhaps more than just coincidence. So perhaps horses who are coming off from a break were using this listed race as a stepping stone to running in group company in the autumn in the bigger races at the likes of Newmarket and Ascot. That was my thinking behind it. I did then go through some of these horses who were beaten at short odds when coming back from a break. Last year, Nostrum was the 2-1 favourite after a 281-day absence. He trailed home last of 8, being 29 lengths. And in the year before, there were 3 qualifiers, including the 8-11 favourite, 11-8 on, I should say. I'll get pulled up for that. Aldari, who was beaten into second place. And there was also a 9-2 shot who was third. So I thought, let's have a look at this. Let's see if we can find some shorties who have been off the track for several weeks. Turns out there's only one, and that's Rebels Gamble for Carl Burke. And you look at his form, first of all, you think, there's a clear split between all weather and turf. So 3 goes on turf, he's got beaten every time, finishing 5th or worse. So 4 goes on the all-weather, 3 wins in a second. So the immediate temptation is to say, I'll label him as an all-weather horse and take him on here. But then you have a look at the last 2 runs on turf, 2 5th places. One of them was at Epsom on Oaks Day, Friday the 6th of June. When we're talking about pace biases, there was a massive pace bias to front runners at Epsom on Oaks Day. Every single winner was in the first sort of 2, maybe 3 throughout. And I think there were 35 or 36 horses described as midfield held up on that day. Every single one was beaten. And that was something that I noticed and then set up as a query on Proform. So every time a hold-up horse from that meeting ran next time out, it would flag it up as one to have a look at and see if it ran better than its finishing position implied. And there was a few winners who came out of that, including one at Royal Ascot for Andrew Baldwin. The name escapes me at the moment. So all of a sudden you can draw a line through that turf run. Then you look at the last one. It was in a 7 furlong listed race at Chester behind a horse called Holguin. And you look at the way the race is worked out. The runner-up Witness Stand, the third Marvel Man, both won at least once since. And he was ridden patiently on a track where it generally pays to be prominent, make the running towards the inside rail. So all of a sudden you're kind of maybe dismissing a horse as a doesn't like turf, but then you've got excuses for 2 of the 3 runs, and you're thinking maybe he's got a chance here. So that stat about horses who are coming from a break of this one, he's been off for almost 10 weeks. I'm neutral about his chances at the moment. So again, you asked me before how I would look at a race like this if I was doing the card for bookmaker Martin of Leicester when I was clerking for him. Rebels Gamble would just be a dot. I'd just be neutral about him. I wouldn't be sort of saying value to lay or chance or pick. It would just be a neutral. So moving on to the other trends, the other interesting one was horses. Was the prep race. So this is something I like to look at as well. Listed races, you sometimes find that horses are dropping down from Group 1 level. Maybe don't do as well as you'd expect despite the class drop because they're using this as a prep. And often horses stepping up from handicap company can struggle, but it's not been the case with this one. You look at the last 10 years, 26 horses prepped in a handicap before running in this listed race. 7 of the 26 won. Profit of £14.56 to £1 stake. Now, if you look at the prices they went off at, the expected number of winners was just over 2.5, 2.64. So that gives an actual over expected figure of 2.65, anything over 1 being good. So really, this is quite a strong stat that this often goes to a progressive handicapper who's not using this as a prep, but using this as the next obvious rung on the ladder. Horses who ran at the same level last time, listed company 0 from 12. Horses, only 2 horses stepped down from Group 1 level, both beaten. And horses dropping from Group 3s were just 1 from 21. So the 3 non-handicap prep horses were dropping down from Group 2 or Group 3 company. But at the moment, I'm thinking, oh, this is quite interesting. I want to have a look at these last time out handicappers. Now, of those 26 last time out handicappers, where did they finish last time out? I'm assuming they ran well because they were stepping up in class. 12 of them finished first or second. 6 of those 12 won, which is an amazing stat, really. So the first thing I do, have a look at where the horse is running in this race ran the last time out. And of the handicappers, there's only one. Now, he didn't finish first or second. This is Remove's Owen Burrows runner, but he did run third in a hot 17-runner handicap at York behind one of William Haggis's called Bullet Point, who's very consistent and progressive. That was in the Clipper handicap, previously known as the Clipper Logistics Stakes. And that was over a mile. Perhaps didn't quite see out the trip after racing keenly. He had won over a mile at York the time before, but he's got a good record at 7 furlongs today's trip. 2 wins and a 4th in the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot, Group 3 company. Slow ground's an unknown, but speed figure wise, he took a backward step last time, a pro form figure of 72. Time before for that York win, he got 79. So, and again, his breeding suggests that slow ground should be okay, despite the fact that he hasn't raced on it yet. Everything's been on good or faster. So I'm kind of like semi-interested in Removes here for Owen Burrows. And the next one, the Gosdens have got Spy Chief. Now, you can look at his form, and as a somewhat a bookmaker or bookmaker's clerk, you're looking at the form. You look at this horse, you think trained by the Gosdens, 6 runs. He's only won once. That was in a novice contest at Yarmouth, where he's bolted up, admittedly. But since then, he's been beaten every single time. But he has been running in good races, Group 3. Group 1 and last time a Group 2 over course and distance behind More Thunder, very progressive horse, also trained by William Haggis. That was in the Group 3 Hungerford Stakes. Now you look at that, you think he's only 6, but then you think, well, hang on a minute, In Touch with leaders weakened over 1 out. Took in hold prominent weakened final furlong. It was a 15-2 shot from 9-1. But then you look at the way that form's worked out. It's been pretty incredible. Now, so that race has been used as a stepping stone to this race before. Marvel Man, who was 3rd, bolted up in the Group 2 Park Stakes at Doncaster last week. 4th place, Rage of Bambi, went on to finish an 80-1 4th in the Group 1 Sprint Cup at Haydock, albeit from a good draw. And where's the other one? The 5th, Fair Angelica. Was an 11-1 winner in the Group 3 Fillies race at Doncaster last week. Now, even the horse who finished ninth, beaten 11 lengths, King's Gamble, that one finished 2nd next time, and that was against Marvel Man. And the forecast, if you'd followed that form line from the Hungerford Stakes, you'd have got the 1-2 and a computer straight forecast of 131 quid. So the remainder of the field have yet to run, but everything that's run from that Hungerford Stakes since has run a blinder. So the future form angle, I know that's something we've discussed previously, and I know you like that feature on Raceform Interactive. So that certainly makes them of interest. And my thought was that the early market might overreact, and they might sort of go 7-2, even 4-1 about him, because they're looking at the last time out form figure of a 6th. But you might be able to back him and trade him when the market cottons on to the form of that last race. He might end up going off 2-1 or something like that. You could have a free bet. I think 1 or 2 firms are priced up already, and he is 2-1. Now, the downside as well is the going, because he's by Kingman, and his 4 turf runs have come unofficially good to firm going. Now, you look at Kingman progeny in flat turf races. And I'll put the table in the article, which will be on your website. Split the runs by percentage strike rate based on going. Firm comes out top, then good to soft, then good to firm, and then soft and heavier at the bottom. Kingman's win about 11-12% of the time on deep ground compared to sort of 18-19% on firm going. These are quite good sample sizes as well. So now you're sort of thinking, well, if this race was run today and it was, in good to soft and places seemed to be genuine, then I'd be putting value to lay going question mark on my card for doing the firm for Martin, and you'd be thinking, well, if this opens up at 2-1, they want to back it into 6-4 as a bookmaker, you've got to be against it. So as a punter, we've got the luxury of sitting it out if we want to. So at the moment, if he is around 2-1, I don't want to do anything back or lay with. I want to wait until we see what the ground's like, and then maybe take him on at a short price if it does seem to be genuinely soft. But it just, it could be genuinely good at Newbury. It could be soft. So we're just sort of waiting on that at the moment. Next down is Volterra for Kevin Ryan. Now, I've talked about time of year being an angle previously, and if you look at his form, he seems to be best in the spring and autumn. He's had 5 runs in sort of March to May or September to November. You strip out his June to August runners, what I call high summer, then it's 3 wins, a couple of thirds from 5 runs. He ran a good race in his comeback at Haydock in May. Didn't progress in France next time out, but that was over a mile. Coming back to 7 furlongs and slow ground could be the key. He's 3 from 5 on straight tracks in Britain. He does seem better on straight tracks rather than on going around a bend or two. And he's 2 from 2 over 7 furlongs on straight tracks in this country. So he got a standout pro form speed figure of 83 for winning an Ascot handicap over this trip last October. That's on the straight course of Cuz. So I'm thinking sort of, autumn ground, time of year, trip ground. If it is soft, then I'm thinking, Voltaire is probably the one I want to be with at this stage. Moving on, Jack Shannon's got one called Ferris. Now, Jack Shannon's yard is one that often has a good spell in the autumn. I generally sort of give his horses more than a second look when they're running from September to November on turf. But this one does seem to be a genuine all-weather performer. He's had 8 goes on the all-weather, 5 wins, 3 places. On turf, he's just 2 wins from 13. Those wins came in a maiden and class 4 handicap off for a mark of 81. Bear in mind, he's rated 100 now, running a listed company. Now, I did suggest a couple of runs ago, I think when he ran here in group company, that he might actually run a race. He didn't. He bombed out. He ran okay behind Lethal Levi at Newmarket last time, but he was on the front end when it paid to be up with the pace that day. So although he's coming here off the 3rd, I think on the balance of his turf form, I've got to take him on, and he'd be one I'd be sort of quite happy to sort of lay in the book. The other 2 runners, there's Bellafina, an Irish raider, filly. Now, we talked about horses who tend to run well against their own sex. She's had 20 runs in her career. 12 of them are coming fillies only company. She's won 4 of them, and you back a blind, you'd have made a profit of 33 quid. When she runs against the boys, whether it's colts, geldings, or a mixture, she's 0 from 8. So, although she's been biggish prices in some of those, my first thought is that she needs to take on her own sex. She's going to struggle here. But this is looking at races like this, and Bellafina is not a horse that I know a great deal about, but she's now saved in my database as when she runs against fillies only, it'll flash up, and I'll give that race a second look and think, particularly if she finishes last of 7 here, beating 12 lengths, when she runs in a native island in a fillies only race, perhaps in a lower grade, she might be something to bet on next time, and the market might overreact to what I'm expecting to be a poor performance. And the other runner is a difficult one to assess. Short final, trained by Stuart Williams, runs in the Tom Morley colours, well known for Quinault's multiple handicap wins last season and multiple listed wins over 7 furlongs this time round. I used to work with the owner on William Hill Radio. He's a shrewd cookie, and so he's only had this one for two runs. Well beaten in the first of them, but last time out they went to Germany, ran behind a horse called Geography in the Group 2 at Baden-Baden. Obviously, German Group 2 is weaker than the British equivalent. But geography was went off relatively short when running at Epsom earlier this season. Is one of the better German runners. Coming back to 7 furlongs isn't going to be a problem, I think, judging on the form in France. And it will be a careful on my card, So this is a 14 to 20 to 1 shot or something like that. It's one of these ones that, as a bookmaker, you don't want to be losing if this wins, and if there's money for it. If it's 14 to 1 into 8s, which I could see it conceivably being here, particularly if the ground's on the slow side, then you'd want to perhaps follow the move and duck it, and then maybe join in at the lower end and get a bit of value that way in your book. But yeah, my summary after looking at this was I put them in order, and with Volterra at the top, followed by Spy Chief and Remuse. But looking at, I'm trying to find which firm is priced up. Yeah, looking at the Racing Post site with the best odds, it's got 2 to 1 Spy Chief, 9 to 4 Remuse, 100 to 30 Volterra, 17 to 2 Ferris, 10's Rebels Gamble, 14 Short Final, and 20 Bellafina. So my only thought at this stage is if it is genuinely good to soft or softer, maybe Spy Chief's going to struggle on the ground, and I'd be wanting to back Volterra. Being trained by Kevin Ryan and being a Northern Raider as well, there's a chance they will drift, and they'll sort of focus in on the southern horses, particularly Spy Chief. Remuse would be half interesting as well, based on that angle of handicappers, horses who prepped in handicaps running well in this race. And then Short Final I'd want to keep on my side at the moment, but I'm not getting involved in this race at this stage. I just want to see what the ground's going to be like on those first few races at Newbury. So,
Andrew, this interrupt a bit. Yeah. So you've looked at this as if you were going through the card for Martin of Leicester.
yeah.
Money without work. This sort of shape of a race seems like there's a lot you can't really rule out. Would you have even looked at this race if you were just looking for on a daily card to have a bet on? Would you, or would you have just gone past it because there's 7 runners?
Yeah, I mean, because in my database I've got the Hungerford Stakes flashed up as a key
Oh,
race.
right. Okay. Yeah.
So I've got a system called Key Race, Hungerford Stakes, check, and so it'll just mean I'll go through it and I'll think, well, everything that's run in that race, everything from that race, even the horse who finished 9th, has run well next time out. So I'm not the only person who's noticed that, and I'm expecting after they're originally priced up, they'll shorten. So my sort of plan would be to back anything that's ran in that race with a view to sort of trading it, thinking horses that finished 8th and beaten 10 lengths might be 20s into 10 next time out. They might not win, but that provides a good trading opportunity, and I want to have a look at them. So I didn't know that angle about this race being kind to horses running handicaps last time out. So that's saved now. So that will be something of interest next time out, next year. And Bellafina, it's useful to know that Bellafina has got a sort of clear preference of running against her own sex. So she'll be one that I'll now be looking out for the next time she runs.
That works as well, as well in both codes then.
Yeah, and again, I'll be writing up, next, I'll sit down on my desk next Monday looking to write my Racing Football Outlook column, my review of the week. And, I might talk about Bellafina and a preference for fillies only company. I might talk about, if Spy Chief wins, I might talk about the form of that Hungerford Stakes. And then I might look and see that somebody else from that race is due to run, next weekend. So I might say, that will make so-and-so of interest in the, whatever race at Sandown on Friday or whatever it is. So it's sort of, even when you look at a race, you don't bet in it necessarily. You're finding something out that's going to be of use in the future. Whether it's a horse with a preference for one particular type of race or another, and you save that information in your database or put it in your tracker or whatever you do. And then I don't think anyone has an actual physical notepad anymore with pen and paper. And then you've got
So how many horses would you make notes about a day?
Could be anything. I mean, what I tend to do is when I'm sitting here watching the racing, I've just got a spreadsheet open with which just says tracker, and it's just got so like going back, I've got all, Flash Bordeaux, soft, heavy autumn campaign, Shelfer, Brighton Rail Bias, Earls, time of year, Yorkshire Lady, September, Ebony Moor, time of year, Marching Mac, The Bog Bank, Tangent, Tapita, Saxonia, Why Has He Gone Up the Inside? This is like someone's gone up the dead rail at Lingfield and got this horse beat. Souffler, Earth King, Hurdles, Not Worcester, Love Talk, Mud, Phillies Only, question mark, One for the Gutter, July, Brooklyn 99, Small Field. So these are things that I'm watching, and I'm thinking, oh, Tyriac, Mud. So I'm just these are horses that I've got one here that says non-jigger. I won't give you the name of the horse.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So so I'm making notes as I'm watching, and then every few days, or once a week, I'll sit down, I'll go through those races again, watch them again, and I'll have sort of questionable head carriage, or didn't want to go through gap when third at Bath or something like that. I do like that, horses that look like they're travelling, and then there's a gap that's big enough for them to go through, and then they shy away and won't go through it, stick their head in the air, and then you look at it and you think, yeah, this horse has won like a novice contest when it was odds on. It's now had 6 goes in handicap. It's been 5 to 1 or shorter every time because it's trained by a decent yard, and it just looks like it's dogged it. It's a bit of a sniffer, and it wants to sniff the backside of another horse rather than go through. So that's the kind of thing that's really useful, whether whether you're betting pre-race or in running or both.
So it's very important for you that you watch as much as possible then.
Yeah, I mean, that was the good thing about working on William Hill Radio back in the day, when you're up in Leeds for 2 days, you're watching every single race, and when you're betting and running as well. I mean, back in the day, I used to watch every single race every day at least twice. With the replay. I still try to watch every single race now, but often you're doing it, as with sort of young kids and family life. If you sort of say you can't break off from dinner time or getting kids ready, for an evening club, to say I just want to watch the 6:30 at Chelmsford.
You can, but it won't go down very well.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, mate. So the last one, like I say, the basics, the first basics we did, even though it doesn't sound very basic, it's still quite Andrew Mount in depth. But if you do like the channel, please like and subscribe. If you didn't watch the last one I did, which was Johnny Deneen, that's been a blockbuster so far. People have appreciated that, and there's been a bit of talk about his
he's
opinions on value and stuff like that. But he says
I was going to say he's good. He's good value, isn't he?
He's good value. I'm sure he says things with a wry smile, knowing it's going to get people talking, but it definitely worked. Anyway, so yeah, like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully, we'll be back with Andrew again fairly soon. Thanks for your time, mate. All the workings will be on my website.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll have a post-mortem about this race.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, thanks very much for your time. School run for both of us approaching. So, yeah, so we'd better call it a day. But thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, mate. Have a good day. Take care.
Cheers.